The February 22nd regular meeting of council. The city of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish Nations and their traditional territory on which we gather with gratitude. First up, we have our council agenda or consent agenda regarding the minutes of the council meeting held February 6th, 2023. We have approval of the council meeting agenda. Mover and a seconder for the recommendation that the consent agenda, including the following recommendations, be approved. That the minutes of the council meeting held February 6, 2023 be adopted. That the February 22nd, 2023 council meeting agenda be approved. I have a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Beal, seconded by Councillor Wood. Are there any omissions or errors? Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Carries. And just to acknowledge that I understand Councillor Fraz is here remotely. I see you, Councillor Fraz. Thank you for joining us, and I'll try and watch for your hand if you can. Thank you. Today we'll go along with reports. The first reports we have is from Mr. Giddon, Manager of Special Projects. Could you please give us a background on the issue regarding the Gathering Place and Incidental Works contract regarding awarding a contract for the construction of the Gathering Plaza and adjacent infrastructure repairs? Thank you, Mr. Giddon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the purpose of the report before you is to award a contract for the construction of the Gathering Plaza and adjacent infrastructure repairs and upgrades. Staff is seeking council's approval to award the contract for the construction of the Gathering Plaza in the Parksville Community Park and the completion of the repairs and required upgrades to adjacent infrastructure in the amount of $1,557,618.80 plus GST to Milestone Equipment Contracting Incorporated. The project includes all aspects of the Gathering Plaza as well as the incidental works to the water, storm, sanitary, electrical, and road infrastructure in the park necessary for the Gathering Plaza and future planned projects in the park. The tender amount is above the budget, and staff has identified options for the Gathering Plaza project for council's consideration as per the recommendations in the report. The Gathering Plaza was identified as a priority in 2017 Parksville Community Park Master Plan. In January 2019, the Gathering Plaza was included in the Community Culture and Recreation Grant application, along with the outdoor theater. The grant funding was awarded 18 months after the application in July 2020. The delay in award was caused by the emergence of the COVID pandemic, which would cause unforeseen impacts on our work and private lives, but also cause the increased cost of materials and labors of an estimated 20% year over year up to the present day. The outdoor theater was prioritized as the first phase of the CCR grant project due to our partnership with the Beach Fest Society. The tender bids for the theater came in higher than expected in 2021. This was the first indication of how construction costs were rising and becoming unpredictable due to the pandemic. Council supported increasing the budget for the theater through the reallocation of funds, and the theater was completed in July 2022. The second phase of the CCR grant, the Gathering Plaza, started in August 2022 with the award for the design, tendering, and contract management being awarded in September. Through site investigation and design, it was determined that there were substantial works adjacent to the core Gathering Plaza that were required to support the success of the project and for future planned projects in the park. Council supported the allocation of adjacent contingency funds for the repairs and upgrades, which were included in the tender for the Gathering Plaza. The tender for the Gathering Plaza was posted in December 2022 and closed in January 2023. The lowest and preferred bid was from Milestone Equipment Contracting Limited. Included in the report are the options for council's consideration. The first option is do not award the contract. and not support the recommendations in the report. Canceling the tender and terminating the project. This will put the city of Parksville in not being compliant with the cost sharing agreement and terms of the CCR grant that also funded the theater. This would cause us to have to renegotiate with the grant provider and return the grant, some of our grant funds, and it possibly have potential negative consequences for future grant applications. The city of Parksville will also not achieve the priority in developing the Gathering Plaza as identified in the Park Community Master Plan. The washroom project, which is also planned in 2023, would also be negatively impacted due to the infrastructure that is required for the washroom that is within the Gathering Plaza area and is now tendered within that project. Additional funds would then have to be transferred into the washroom project to support the increased infrastructure required for the washroom building. The project would be delayed due to the changes in drawings and communications with the needed professionals. Construction would still occur in the Gathering Plaza because of the utilities that are there and for the washroom buildings. The enhanced pedestrian circulation and safety and accessibility would not occur across Sandcastle Drive because that is included in the Gathering Plaza project. Risk, and there's a continued risk that construction costs will continue to increase. As well, staff would require time to analyze cost and other implications of alternate direction from council. Option number 2 is to go forward and award this contract and support the recommendations in the report. This would award the contract to Milestone Equipment Contracting at the tendered amount. It would increase the plaza budget by $360,000 to complete the deliverables this year, funded by an increase in grant funding and reallocation of surplus funding with no increase in property taxes. Also to allocate the $557,600 identified for the already approved works adjacent contingency funding to repair and update the electrical, water, and sewer infrastructure required for the successful operations of the Gathering Plaza and new washroom building. This will also allow us to finalize the washroom project planning, which is dependent on the incidental work associated with the water and electrical upgrades for the Gathering Plaza. It'll also improve the sewer and water infrastructure for the existing washroom facility. It also allows us to move hydro transformer boxes and power kiosks that are in the picnic areas and in the Gathering Plaza area. It'll also allow us to move forward with our planned schedule for tendering on the washroom project. And ultimately, the Gathering Plaza, washroom, and pedestrian circulation, safety and accessibility projects will move forward as planned with the current timelines for completion in 2023. This last slide just highlights the current proposed budget increase for the Gathering Plaza project and highlights the balance between grant and donated funds and the contributions from the city, showcasing that it's still a very good value for the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giddon. I'll open it up to the council for, I'm sure we have a few questions. I just have to comment right at this time on how congratulating you on surviving really the perfect storm in between the pandemic, the supply chain issues, the contracting issues, and all the other issues that have come forth in the exceedingly high inflation of building materials and costs. And you somehow have made it to the other end with a proposal. So thank you for your tenacity and for your abilities were unknown until now. So thank you so much for your work on this, because I know it's been very frustrating to you, but also recognizing the fact after getting through this perfect storm, you've identified other projects that were in the park that needed the infrastructure projects that needed to be improved and are now being combined into this massive tender project that you have done, which makes a lot more sense. Having the digging up the ground only once and fixing up what needs to be fixed up, as well as making sure that the original intent of the gathering place has turned into a scope that's encompassing all the other projects that were going to be done at the same time. So having taken so long, you were able to get all the other projects that we would have done and put it all into one. So good on you for that. I appreciate all the work you've done on it. Council, any questions for Mr. Gibb?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Grants.
Thank you, Mayor, and through the mayor to Mr. Giddens. I would echo the sentiments from our mayor on that and recognize the prudent financial approach we've got in the city here and how great that is to see. I did have a small question around the washroom facility component of this. In your presentation, is that yet to be tendered? So is there any likelihood that we're going to run into this issue again when we go out for tender on that aspect of this project?
Thank you. Through the mayor. We're being very cautious and very studious in understanding our budget going forward through the washroom project, but we do have a better budgeting budget for it because it was budgeted, later in the pandemic process. So we had a better idea of cost going forward for the washroom building, and we have a little bit of a wiggle room in the sense of contingency. So we have a better understanding how things are going with construction costs, and we planned appropriately.
Thank you. Councillor Beal.
Sorry, touched the wrong button. Through the mayor to Mr. Gibbon, thank you very much. And the report and it is so beautifully written and clear that, first of all, I did have some questions about how this might impact the surfacing or resurfacing of the courts, but I understand that there is money available through that will be able to cover so that everything can in fact be accomplished. And hats off to you for that and the support from other staff members as well. But I take it that is the case, that the courts will still be able to go ahead as planned, as well as a gathering place, correct?
Thank you. Through the mayor. Yeah, that is correct. Our other planned projects, which includes the resurfacing of the tennis courts and the repair of the skate park, are still planned, and this has no impact on those projects.
Thank you. Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor, and through the mayor to Mr. Giddens. So can you, sorry, it kind of goes back to when we first presented the development permit application for this, but it will be done in phases, right? What parts of the park will be inaccessible to the public and for how long?
Thank you. Through the mayor to you. The project is challenging because it's located in the heart of the park surrounding the existing washroom building. And that core area will be closed to the public at different scales during the project. So the construction fencing will be moved around to allow as much movement of people through that area and to access the washroom when we can. But that whole area, including Sandcastle Drive, will have closures between the starting of the project, which should be in March, all the way to the substantial completion, which is aimed for the end of June. So there'll be various closures through that entire time. And part of our contract with Milestone, it was very clear in our tender that we require those openings to occur as much as possible, because we know that we have a tremendous volume of people that visit the park and have expectations to be able to move through the park, access our washrooms. But yeah, there's going to be closures definitely, which will stop vehicles going out to the point at sometimes. But there'll be opportunities for people to walk out to the point and still access parts of our park. But around the washroom building will be closed, and we'll be planning appropriately with portable washrooms in that area during the construction.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. One follow-up for you. So I would like to know in particular the accessible, not just the park, but the washrooms also for people with disabilities and mobility aids. Would that be taken into consideration during the construction phase?
Thank you. Through the mayor. Absolutely. When we order portable toilets for construction and for events and everything like that, there is an accessible style of portable potty, of a washroom porta potty that you can order, and that has they're bigger space, so you can actually get a wheelchair inside them. So they will be included in our rental.
You good? Thank you. And Councillor Martin.
Can I make a comment?
You may.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Gibbon, this is tremendous. And I think it's a jewel, as we all know. But I've heard from so many people that have visitors here. There are seniors that have all their children coming here that say it's the best place that they've ever seen. And that we're enhancing it and making it better as the years go by is a real wise thing in my judgment. And we have to do quality work. We have to get good construction and lasting because it gets a lot of wear. Thank you for all your efforts and your staff too. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Councillor Fraz, you were on a reduced screen there for a moment there. Do you have any questions before we move into? I take that as a no. Thank you. No further questions. Do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation? It's a long one, so get comfortable. That the report from the manager of special projects dated February 14th, 2023, entitled Gathering Plaza and Incidental Works Contract be received. Part 2, that the 2023-2027 financial plan include an allocation of $295,000 of Canada Community Building Fund, the gas tax, reserves to the Community Park Sports Court project, and that the Sports Courts project funds carried forward from 2022 be reallocated to the Gathering Plaza project. Part 3, that the 2023-2027 financial plan include $25,500 of 2022 surplus funds carried forward and allocated to the Gathering Plaza project. Part 4, that the 2023-2027 financial plan include an increase of $40,000 in the grant funding for the Gathering Plaza project. Part 5, that the 2023-2027 financial plan include an increase of $360,000 in the Gathering Plaza project budget. Part 6, that a contract for the construction of the Gathering Plaza and adjacent infrastructure repairs and updates be awarded to Milestone Equipment Contracting Limited in the amount of $1,557,618.80 plus GST. Part 7, that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute the subject contract on behalf of the city. I have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Martin. Seconded by Councillor Wood. Any discussion? Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to comment that and compliment the staff again on the work to rearrange the finances to make this possible. This is, as Councillor Martin has indicated, a very it's the jewel of our community. My children have spent many years enjoying the facilities in the Gathering Plaza area. But I'd also like to remind all of us that these projects can get very expensive. And so we can't always rely on the superpowers of our staff to be able to make them happen. So we need to be mindful as we bring new projects on stream that we are aware that these costs can escalate quite quickly in the environment that we're living in right now. So some prudence is always, a dose of prudence is always required. So I just want to make that comment. Thank you.
So noted. Any further questions? Call the question. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Gibb.
Thank you.
We have another report this afternoon on our agenda. Mr. Denton, Capital Asset Accountant. Could you please give us a background on the issue regarding Asset Management Policy 6.17 and Asset Management Strategy? Mr. Denton, thank you.
I'll start by introducing myself since I haven't formally met any of you yet. My name is Mike Denton and I'm the Capital Asset Accountant for the City of Parksville. Today I'll be providing a brief PowerPoint on some of our asset management initiatives in 2023, as well as touching base on the two documents that we're looking to have approved, the asset management policy, as well as the asset management strategy. So why asset management? There's numerous reasons. Adequate quality information to support decision-making, effective, reliable delivery of critical services, reduced life cycle costs of delivery, defensible prioritization of resources for investment, improved financial planning, with better management of unfunded liabilities associated with our aging assets, demonstrated stewardship of assets that would build confidence with our constituents, alignment of community objectives, and starting in 2024, asset management reporting will be a requirement for provincial infrastructure grant funding. So when I started in September 2022, one of the first things I did was have the Asset Management Committee undertake Asset Management BC assessment that basically gauged the city's knowledge of our current asset management practices. There was 21 questions that were asked under 4 main categories, and we self-ranked most of our categories around the fair capacity mark. As you can see here, we are aiming to, our desired state is to be around in between the good and the high capacity range. Things we're doing right now to close that gap to increase our knowledge of asset management within the city is development of the asset management policy and the asset management strategy within our asset management program. We're enrolling people in the certificate in asset management planning course provided from NAMS Canada. So we have 6 people enrolled in the March session, plans for more people in future offerings. We're working with Asset Management BC to see what training offerings they have available for Parksville. And we have the Asset Management Committee, which is a cross-departmental committee from admin, engineering, operations, finance, planning, and IT. So this committee meets once per quarter, and we discuss asset management initiatives and provide consensus on paths forward with the asset management program. So 2023 initiatives, we've got the asset assessment and valuation. So council awarded this contract to Suncorp Valuations on November 21st, 2022. So it's condition assessments and valuations of our non-linear infrastructure. So that includes facilities, our water infrastructure, our parks, sewer infrastructure, as well as parking lots and trail networks. So we expect Suncorp to be completing that in March 2023. The capital asset accountant, that's me, hired in September 2022. So I'm basically responsible for leading the asset management program for the city of Parksville, also responsible for tangible capital asset accounting and implementation of the new PSAB accounting standard, the asset retirement obligations. We've got our drainage master plan. So this supports condition assessments and our replacement strategies that will identify areas of concern for potential improvements and replacements. And an RFP is currently out issued for this work right now. We have our sewer master plan. The council awarded this contract to Geo Advice on November 22nd, 2022, with expected completion in fall 2023. We have transportation master plan. So this RFP is to be issued in 2023. It'll help us support condition assessments and replacement strategies for our roads. Water master plan. So council awarded this contract to Geo Advice on January 16th, 2023, with expected completion in fall of 2023. Pavement condition assessment. So again, this will support our asset management condition assessments and replacement strategies. This was awarded to Tetra Tech and work is to commence in 2023 once the weather improves. We have pipeline video inspections, $100,000 annually. This is to support condition assessments of our underground infrastructure. We have $50,000 allocated to storm drainage annually and $50,000 to sewer annually. And I'll touch base on the asset management policy. So the purpose of the policy is really to articulate the city's commitment to asset management and guide the staff in carrying out asset management related work. Policy is really the ground level of the asset management program. It guides the development of the strategy, which in turn guides the development of the asset management plans and the rest of the asset management work. This policy was originally approved by council in 2016, but it should be periodically updated and reviewed, likely every 5 years or so. It was updated in 2023, really to be more modern, more concise, and provide a few more detailed policy statements. The asset management strategy was also developed. So the purpose of the strategy, it summarizes our asset management objectives, how the city will approach the development of asset management practices, and plans to achieve those objectives. So really it provides a high level overview of the current state of the city's infrastructure. It outlines the city's current asset management practices, as I touched base on an earlier slide. Documents our asset management objectives, how they will be achieved. It provides a framework for the creation of the asset management plans. Defines level of service and advancing corporate risk assessments. Provides a roadmap that outlines timelines and resources required for asset management objectives. So really the overall objective with our asset management program is sustainable service delivery, really ensuring that we are planning for future replacement of our assets as they age over time. So next steps in the asset management program. So reporting out the results and recommendations from all the 2023 initiatives. Prioritization and development of asset management plans. So based on outcomes from our master plans and condition assessments. And really integrating asset management data and plans into the long-term financial plans. So our recommendations are as per the agenda. And just wondering if there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Denton. You've taken a subject and described it perfectly so that even council can understand what you're talking. And I thank you for that, because we do need help sometimes. And you've done very well. The asset management policy is a huge and valuable endeavor. So you've demonstrated your expertise and understanding of moving this policy forward. Thank you. Job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll ask for questions from council, if you have any, council. I'm going to start at the end. Councillor Grens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, I will echo the mayor's compliments through to Mr. Denton, and welcome aboard on the team here. We're all new together, so good to have you. I imagine I'm probably asking a question that many are going to be asking here is, could you maybe speak a little bit to the natural assets that you're looking at as part of the asset management plan?
Of course, yes. So our focus right now is on the engineered assets in 2023 to get them to a point that we're comfortable with them, what our condition is on all of our engineered assets, what our replacement values are. And then moving forward into 2024, if you look at the last page, the schedule on the asset management strategy, at that point, hopefully sooner, we'll be looking at cataloging our natural assets and starting to quantify and evaluate them.
Quick follow-up. Just for the sake of anyone who doesn't know what natural assets are, do you mind just elaborating a little bit on that and what the ideas behind that?
Sure, yeah, I can. I'll give you the formal description here, which is, so yeah, ecosystems are natural resources that the community relies on for services. It can include rivers, lakes, tree canopies, the ocean, really aquifers, forests, wetlands, so anything that the community relies on as part of, recreation or services.
Thank you so much. Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Mr. Denton, thank you very much for your presentation. Yeah, Gibson's you probably know this already, but for those who might not, Gibson's has done a fantastic job as a town to start to take an inventory of their natural assets. And people come to Parksville not necessarily because of our engineered assets, but because of our beach and our coastline, trees, parks, river, watershed. So anything we can do to put a price tag on, say, replacement costs of those, I think it really helps, the public to kind of understand how important those assets are to us, and how we need to take them into account when we are doing our asset inventories. Thank you.
Councillor Beal.
Thank you, and through the mayor to Mr. Denton, and yes, thank you very much for your presentation. And Councillor Grenz is quite correct. Questions about the natural assets and how they fit in there was precisely going to be my question. But just a little piece of that, and I can appreciate that the visuals that you have, they don't tell the whole picture about what the assets are, but with the storm drainage, for instance, we presently have in place rain gardens in some situations, and also underground storage, water storage. But are those looked at right now, or will that also come later? It's a little bit different because, in fact, they are engineered to a certain point. So I was just curious about how rain gardens and any other infiltration projects are factored into that.
Through the mayor to Councillor Beal. Yes, items like that will definitely be looked at as a future part of the asset management program.
Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. And through you to Mr. Denton, thank you for the presentation. Natural assets is a very hot topic, and I'm glad the rest of the council already touched on that. So thank you to the council. So when you're formulating the strategy for the natural assets, I just want to know if there are any provincial standards that are being followed, or it's very strictly city to city standards that we look for in formulating those strategies. It's kind of important being neighbors to the RDN and Qualicum, so we kind of work together at the same standards. If you could speak to that, please.
Through the mayor to Councillor Guar. Yes, absolutely. I think my belief right now is it's more of a city to city analysis on the natural assets, but a part of the initiative here is, I want to contact Gibson's and follow the precedent that they've set in regards to natural assets.
Thank you. And Councillor Martin.
Mr. Gidim, thank you, and welcome to the team. We're all fairly new here, myself too. And what you do is appreciated. I did everything that everyone else has said. I just wanted to say that and say hello. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Councillor Beal.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Mr. Denton. I was curious about, for instance, the road inventory, the status of the roads, the state of the roads and other things, the pipes and so on. Will you be returning before council to give us an update when these various examinations are complete, so that so that we can know how things are going and when they have been completed?
Through the mayor to Councillor Beal. Yes, there is plans to be reporting out on all of the 2023 asset management initiatives.
Thank you. Just recognizing that the asset management encompasses many departments within the city of Parksville, and they all bring their expertise on their infrastructure that they are responsible for. So basically what they're doing with this management program is allowing us to try and eliminate those nasty surprises when infrastructure breaks down. And actually they just broke down on the normal life pattern of that particular piece of equipment. And we want to know what that is actually before it breaks down. And that goes a long way to do that. And if we know what that's going to be before it breaks down, then we can allocate budget amounts accordingly moving ahead so that we don't have those surprises that wipe out your entire budget just with one project that we could have prevented or been aware of. So it's such an important asset for fiscal management of the assets of the community. And our staff has embraced it fully on this and very well. But as I say, it's natural assets absolutely are a big part of it, but all the other infrastructure that the city has is very important that we actually manage it in a proper manner. And that's what this is going to allow us to do. And it's actually quite exciting even for our department heads to have this laid in front of them, so they know actually what they can identify priorities on what needs to be replacing. So it's going to go a long ways to make us run even more efficient than we already have. Councillor Grens, do you have further comment?
If I may just build on your comments there, Mr. Mayor, as well as Councillor Beals, is I appreciate the opportunity that this will also allow us to extend the life of our assets by looking at the whole picture. Just like if you own a car and you do the oil changes regularly, that's going to extend the life of your vehicle. But you can also think about, oh, maybe we'll build a garage and store the vehicle in a garage so that it'll also last longer, not get corroded and all that sort of thing. So that we're doing this strategic approach at the staff level is greatly appreciated. And I think we're all going to be beneficiaries of it from here in the city. So thank you very much.
Any further comments or questions, council? Do I have a mover and seconder for the following recommendations? That point one, that the report from the capital asset accountant dated February 6, 2023, entitled Asset Management Policy 6.17 and Asset Management Strategy be received. Point two being that Asset Management Policy 6.17 be approved as presented. And point three, that the Asset Management Strategy be approved as presented. I have a mover and seconder for that, please. Councillor Grens and Councillor Gore. Seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Denton. If that was your first presentation, you pass. Good job. Thank you. For our next report, pardon me, for our next report, we have Mrs. Bolvin, Manager of Finance. Could you please give us a background on the issue regarding the 2023 property tax collection scheme options to provide background to council on property tax collection options for 2023?
Thank you.
Welcome, Mrs. Bolvin.
Thank you, Mayor. I also haven't had the opportunity to meet all of you yet, so I'll introduce myself, and I'm Marley Bovin. I'm the Manager of Finance. Nice to meet you all. Thanks. The community charter and municipal tax regulations set the general property tax date or due date as July 2nd each year, with a mandatory 10% penalty applied to unpaid taxes after the due date. The charter also provides municipalities with the option to vary the tax due date and penalty rates and dates by adopting an alternative property tax collection scheme bylaw. It's a lengthy bylaw name. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, the city operated under one of those alternative bylaws, and that maintained the provincial due date of July 2nd, but varied the penalty so that 5% was applied after the due date in July, with an additional 5% applied in September. In 2020, as a result of the pandemic, the province mandated that no penalties be charged until October of that year. In 2021 and 2022, Although there were no provincial mandates of this nature, council chose to alter the penalty rates and dates and this was due to the continued effects of the pandemic. In 2023, it appears that COVID has become a part of our everyday lives. And so it is recommended to return to the tax collection and penalty scheme that was in place prior to the pandemic. Of note, during the pandemic, we did not see a noticeable change in the amount of outstanding property taxes after the July due date. Therefore, we don't believe returning to a 5% penalty in July and a 5% penalty in September will have a significant impact on the majority of taxpayers. And I will say I crunched some numbers during the beginning of the meeting, and it's not something that I put in the report because I didn't think to, but for council's benefit, had we had the 5% penalty in July and 5% in September in 2022, the total penalties would have only been $4,000 more than they were pre-pandemic in 2019. So just to give you a comfort level as what it would have been or what it would likely be in 2023 if you go back to the 5% and 5%. The recommendations are as per the agenda and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Questions from council? Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, we get to welcome through to the delegation, or sorry, the Director or Manager of Finance, right? Is that correct? Okay, Ms. Bowman, great to meet you and welcome to the team as well.
Thank you.
Or wait, are you welcoming us? Thank you.
Technically, I started before you. I started in August, so.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
So welcome to us. Thank you. So you've outlined a number of options here, and I'm just curious about the community charter does stipulate a 10% penalty. Are you aware of any reasoning why this was broken into 5% at some point along the line and what the rationale is there?
Through the mayor to Councillor Grenz, I don't know the reason. I know that the alternative tax collection scheme bylaw was in place, I believe, since 2011. So we're going back several years here. I do know that across the province, there's a variety of municipalities that have adopted one of those alternative tax collection scheme bylaws for a variety of reasons. A lot of them keep the July 2nd or the first business day after July 1st as the due date. But I think a lot have also taken the opportunity to lessen the blow for those that may not be able to pay the full amount by the July due date. So it softens it for them because it's only 5% instead of the mandated 10% as per the province. Okay, thanks.
Yes, and that helps explain it to me as well. You know, why is 5 and 5, but it equals the same thing, but it does soften that blow if it was to happen, but it still meets the community charter. So I appreciate that. Any other further questions? Hearing none. Do I have a mover or pardon me? Do I have a mover and seconder for the following recommendation? Point 1, that the report for the manager of finance dated February 9th, 2023, entitled 2023 Property Tax Collection Scheme Options be received. Point 2, that the general tax collection scheme be set with a 5% penalty applied at the close of business on the first business day after July 1st in each year, and a 5% penalty applied at the close of business on the first business day after September 14th in each year. Point 3, that council, in accordance with the bylaw section of the council agenda, consider alternative municipal tax collection scheme bylaw 2023 number 1583 for 3 readings. Mover and seconder, please. Oh, sorry. All those in favor? Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Fraz, I could not see you at the time your hand was off screen. Yes or no? All those in favor?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm in
sorry,
favor.
sorry. I'm counting before I get there. Okay, so you all put up your hand and you all want to move a second. Okay, well, I thought you'd jump in the gun. Councillor Martin moved, seconded by Councillor Beal. Any further discussion? All those in favor? There you are again. All unanimous still. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bovin, once again for your first time presentation. Well done and welcome to the team. I know that you're going to be a welcome asset to our team as well. So thank you so much. Great job. Yeah, thank you. Mrs. Tardiff, Manager of Communications, could you please give us a background on the issue regarding? I'll talk slow, Ms. Tardiff, so you get down here. Ms. Tardiff, could you give us the background on the city celebration for the late Phil St. Luke? As an update on plans for city hosted celebration to recognize the late Phil St. Luke. Thank you, Mrs. Tardiff.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to bring council up to date on this. Since the February 6th meeting, I've been working on some tentative arrangements pending council approval. So I will outline sort of what I have done to date, knowing that it is still needs to be approved by council. Looking at Friday, June 9th, at the Parksville Outdoor Theater, 7 to 9 p.m. It would be an event open to the community, everyone welcome, free event. Our goal is to provide a professional event that the city will be proud to host and that the community will be satisfied that the city has done what is needed to recognize the late Phil St. Luke. In order to be able to provide council with a bit of an outline, I did have to make obviously some inquiries, and pretty much everyone was great at saying, okay, yeah, I get that it's tentative, but in order to confirm some costs. I see this as positioned as a kind of a community party for Phil, and I haven't come up with a catchy name yet. The best I can do is Party in the Park for Phil, but I think we can do better than that. Not all arrangements are underway. Once there's council approval to proceed, then I really will begin to sort of tighten things up, do a show flow, things like script for an MC, speakers, involvement by community groups, and just generally how the event will be orchestrated. The date of June 9 is acceptable to David St. Luke, who's Phil's brother, and the picnic shelter is also available from noon on that day. I did look at some dates in May. The last weekend in May, there are events on this on the stage, and any weekends before that, the area in front of the stage is not available because of landscaping. So, which is why I ended up with June 9th. David St. Luke advised he will be selling about 80 of Phil's t-shirts and hats and has indicated the funds would go towards a memorial. Not sure exactly what he has in mind. This will be organized by David and very much separate from the city. So I did provide you with a bit of an outline of costs, and I'll just take a second to explain. The Apollos, that fee is considerably less than what they would normally charge for a performance. When I inquired about a piper to kind of bring people together and start the event, I was told that the Aerosmith pipe band, the whole band, wants to perform. So that was a deal. There is no cost to use this stage, obviously. And by using the Beach Festival folk for sound and tech, it's a considerable saving from bringing in an independent. Quality Foods is willing to donate 50 pieces of something, 50 popsicles, ice cream sandwiches. So I did build in a little bit more because I figure 500 isn't going to be enough. In the estimate, there is staff time, and that is pretty much event management and then operations staff for setup, cleanup. And communication staff costs are not included in the budget. Communications will have the full responsibility for this city hosted event. We'll look after marketing, organize speaker, coordinate involvement of community groups, do the marketing, news release, promotion of the event, as well as respond to inquiries from the public. Let's Talk Parksville Tile for Phil St. Luke is ready to go. It's not yet published, sort of waiting for some indication from council if this event is to proceed. There is a suggested resolution and I welcome questions.
Thank you so much for all your work you put into this, Mrs. Tardiff. I'm not sure whether I heard different than what I read. When you talk about the ice cream treats, I thought I heard you say that 50 was donated by Quality Foods. Is it?
500.
Okay, I thought I heard
Of
50.
something,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. So 500 to be clear. And it was, that's fine. That was the only question I had at that point. Is for a clarification. Thank you so much. Council, any questions for Mrs. Tardiff while she's at the table? Go ahead, Councilor Bill.
Thank you, through the mayor to Mrs. Tardiff. I'd just like to thank you for a fantastic job. And I know you're very skilled at putting these things together and putting that out there, but it just looks like it would be great. And the time of year seems to be great as well. Hopefully warm enough. We might get rain, but I don't think we'll get that white stuff that we've got outside here today. So that's great. So I'm certainly hopeful I will want to support this when we actually read out the motion. I just want to thank you for all your work on this. It looks great. And I love the Apollos.
Me too. Yeah. I second that. Councilor Gore. Oh, do you want to arm wrestle or so? Councilor Grant, Gore, I'm looking at you. It's you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, thank you, Ms. Tardiff, for all the work. This is an important event for our community, and I appreciate all the hard work that you've put in. My one question is, well, first of all, thank you for engaging with the family as well. I think it's important. One question I do have is you mentioned that the brother is interested in a fundraiser. Would that be during this event at the park or at a separate, would it be a separate event altogether?
Through the mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
The intent is to have some tables set up under the picnic shelter during this event.
Councilor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Ms. Tardiff. I also am very appreciative of all the work you've done here on short notice and quite comprehensive so far. I do have one question. You mentioned the donation from Quality Foods, which is greatly appreciated. Will Let's Talk Parksville or some other venue be available for people, for other organizations and companies that may want to donate something to this event?
Through the mayor, hadn't actually thought about that, but there, once we get LTP up and running, there will be a section where people can provide how they would like to volunteer, how they would, what they have to offer. So I guess the answer is yes, that will be set up.
Thank you.
That's great. I just quick follow-up on that, or just would like to comment, because yeah, I know that there's a lot of interest in the community to participate in this in some way and contribute. So that venue would be most appreciated.
Yeah, it sounds like the Let's Talk tile will be very beneficial for communication from those people in the community that want to have more information or to, provide many services or offerings of donation. I think it'll be great as Ms. Tardiff can manage that through the Let's Talk. It's the easiest format for us to handle. I appreciate that. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Ms. Tardiff, for doing everything for us here at Lovely. It's very well put together. I just want to understand, are we going to be doing a statue or a possibility of something like that later? Or is that, that's nothing to do with this, but is there was it, because there was public, we're waiting for public response for something like that? Or do I understand? Because it was public.
Yeah, and Councilor Martin, the opportunity or the option of perhaps doing a statute has been put over to a standing committee that I appointed on the last council meeting that we
Oh, I
had.
missed that.
So that standing committee is looking at all options,
Okay.
including a statute, but looking at all other options. And
Oh,
so that standing committee has yet to meet to gather that information
okay.
and to form, but that's where that's at. This Tardiff is
This is the event.
taking care of the celebration of life. And so what has happened is that the standing committee will look at any other, whatever form that may look at. They will be garnering what kind of community support is out there. So they'll be working on that.
Sorry for the misunderstanding.
No, no worries.
Okay,
We-
thank
we-
you.
Yeah,
great.
it's easily missed.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Beal.
Thank you. And through the mayor to Ms. Tardiff. Just thinking that this is very, very positive, and I'm sure it will be well received. I'm thinking ahead to, as Councillor Grenz mentioned, that the community and others will want to be involved or have some way, some tangible way to show things. I anticipate that. So I imagine that once something is firmed up, that, and once the Let's Talk Parksville page is up and running, that you will come back to us to share some further thoughts as to, you know, what else might go into this if there's an outpouring from the community, so that people have a way and means to show their appreciation as well.
Through the mayor. If that's council's wish, yes, I can do that. I, at this point, have not made contact with any community groups or individuals. It was really just to come up with a date, some idea of costs, you know, a very, very rough outline. And, you know, between 7 and 9, if we're going to do an hour's worth of entertainment and a few speeches, and I'm not sure that Phil's brother is probably comfortable with speaking. So I think there is going to have to be some, there's going to be some challenge with sort of bringing it into what makes sense. And this is a city hosted event as well. So I truly haven't given that much thought.
My comments on that, I think that may be able to be handled. I note that you have an MC that's going to be emceeing this, and I would think maybe use the MC itself to maybe bring that together, to take it so to understand comments that are going to be received, and let's put the MC to work since they're going to be running it, and then they can kind of set the format up, or you know, when the Apollos are on the pipe band, and let that MC handle that, if we maybe use that suggestion.
If I may, Dave Graham is committed to emceeing the event, so we all know how awesome he is, and he will be scripted, you know, right down to the second. So yeah.
I'm totally confident in his professionalism, so that's
yeah.
good news. Thank you, Debbie. Thanks for that comment, Councillor Beal. Any further comments at this point? What I would like to do is I'd like to propose this resolution, as well as at the same time as receiving the report from Ms. Tardiff. So, well, let's do it separately, just to keep it simple. Do I have a mover and seconder for the to receive the city celebration report from Mrs. Tardiff? Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Grenz, seconded by Councillor Gore. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you so much. I would like to move the following resolution. I'll be looking for a seconder. That council approve up to $7,500 from council contingency for a community celebration for the late Phil St. Luke at the Parksville Outdoor Theater on June 9th, 2023. I have a second for that. Councillor Gore, seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you so much for all your work, Ms. Tardiff. This has been amazing, and it's a very delicate issue, and you've handled it very well. Thank you so much. Moving on. We have a report now from Mrs. Legault, Director of Corporate Services. Could you please give us a background on the issue regarding Accessibility Committee to seek council direction on establishing an accessibility committee? Thank you, Mrs. Legault. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. The purpose of this report is to introduce recent legislative requirements arising from the Accessible BC Act, specifically the requirement to establish an accessibility committee, develop an accessibility plan, and develop mechanisms to receive public feedback on the plan. Draft terms of reference have been prepared and reflect the requirement for the committee to assist with identifying barriers to individuals in or interacting with the organization and to provide advice on how to remove and prevent the barriers that are identified. As noted in the report, supporting resources are being developed provincially to assist local governments with meeting their obligations, but not all of them are available at this time. So there are still some unknown staffing implications that may require further council input at a future date, and the recommendations per the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing this forward, Ms. Legault. Very important to formally create an accessibility committee. And I appreciate that. And I just want to make sure in the background information that we received as council, was that available in the handout that's in for the for our agenda? You're talking about the committees and the committees being formed. We have members in the audience from Access Oceanside. And so I want to make sure that they have all the information necessary about the choosing of the members of the committee.
The terms of reference are attached to the staff report on the agenda, and there are some hyperlinks to the legislation in case anyone wanted to get more in-depth information.
Thank you very much for that. And hopefully that explains those in the audience. Thank you so much for attending, and we look forward to moving forward on this. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Oh, sorry. Was there any further questions? I jumped over here for a second. No, thank you. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? That point one, that the report from the Director of Corporate Services dated February 9th, 2023, entitled Accessibility Committee be received. Point two, that an Accessibility Advisory Committee be established. Point three, that the draft terms of reference for the Accessibility Advisory Committee be approved. And point four, that staff solicit applications for membership on the Accessibility Advisory Committee for council consideration. Mover or seconder, please. Councillor Martin moved. Councillor Fraz seconded. You're in the shadows. Yes. Thank you, Councillor Fraz. Gotcha. Any discussion? Councillor Gord.
Thank you, Mayor. And I would like to thank the staff for bringing this to the meeting. As council would know, I am liaison to Accessible Oceanside. They are very excited to hear about this committee being formed, and I really hope to get the support of the council for this item. So AOA has, probably got the email from Sandra, and she's mentioned they're keen on being part of this this committee. I do have a couple of questions for Ms. Legault. That there's this request from AOA members who are already advocating for people with disabilities to be on this committee. And I understand the composition has to have one Indigenous person. And I want to know, like, how do you think we'll be able to achieve that kind of composition for this committee? How easy would it be, and do these members have to live within the city of Parksville? I know if Polycom has to establish a similar committee, or the RDN will have to do the same, so they might be sort of kind of competing for the members here. Thank you.
Through the mayor to Councillor Gore, we haven't included in the terms of reference a residency requirement. However, the applications will come back to council to consider. And so if there are geographic considerations that council wants to include, that's certainly your option when we go to review the membership of the committee. In terms of Indigenous representation, or representation from other community groups. The legislation provides an outline of what they'd like the committee to look like, but they recognize too that, it's not always possible to get that kind of representation. And so they include the phrase "to the extent possible." And
Right.
that's what we'll be working towards based on the applications that we receive.
Thank you. You good? Any further discussion? Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to make one quick comment through to council is that we are we benefit in this community from having a wealth of knowledge and experience, and having advisory committees like this is, I think, a direction that I'd like to see us move in more, so that we can engage the community on some of these issues that they very much have a stake in and a lot of knowledge about. And so I'm very pleased to see this one. I appreciate the work being done by staff on this in order to move this one forward, and look forward to the opportunity to engage the community on other important issues.
Yes, and I'd just like to comment that moving this forward is the right thing to do, because we have received one-off requests in the 5 years that I've been on council for items like mobility mats, for the beach, and that were looked into it, but it was on a one-off basis. But we didn't have enough background checking with stakeholders of the community. And sometimes it just kind of fell off the table because we didn't have any further guidance. But they be able to take those requests now and put them through to the accessibility committee. We'll make sure that these items don't fall through the cracks, and the issue will be addressed in a proper and formalized manner. So I'm looking forward to this moving forward. Thank you so much for bringing it forward. Any further questions, discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Oh, we did move it, right? Yeah, I know. Okay. I thought you're trying to catch me again, aren't you? Okay. Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Legault, so what are I see that the financial impact is just the $10,000 for the development of accessibility plan. Do you see in the future to have some line item for this committee to be looking at accessible areas in the city that I understand, like sidewalks are a big thing, accessibility of the city, community park is another. So can you vision something like a line item in the future for the committee to have some funds available at its disposal?
Through the chair, I think eventually we will need to have some implementation funding. The initial statutory requirement is for the committee and the plan and the public feedback mechanisms. There currently aren't any statutory requirements to implement the recommendations coming out of the plan, but that could be coming. And regardless of the statutory requirements, I think when you put the effort into developing a plan, you have some obligations to consider funding to implement ways to reduce the barriers to full and equal participation.
You good? Now I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you so much for the report, Ms. Legault. Bylaws, we have 3 readings for Alternative Municipal Tax Collection Scheme Bylaw 2023, number 1583, to alter general tax collection scheme and penalty dates for unpaid taxes. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation that Alternative Municipal Tax Collection Scheme Bylaw 2023, number 1583, be read 3 times? Moved by Councillor Martin, Councillor Gore. Any discussion? Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick comment. I'm sure that the word scheme is a legal word. I would really love if we could look at different ways of phrasing that. That's my only comment. Thank you.
It's a good point. I'm sure that there may be a legal mechanism that calls for scheme. Or could that be removed? It's in the legislation. It is, but point well taken. But at least we're scheming in a transparent fashion in the public gallery. That's what we do. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you so much. Bylaws, final adoption today for zoning and development amendment bylaw 2022, number 2000.143 for the max and text amendment to CD 35 at, sorry, I should have read that out. For the max and text amendment to comprehensive development number 35 at 285 Pioneer Crescent. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? That zoning and development amendment bylaw number 2022, number 2001.43 be reconsidered and finally adopted, signed by the mayor and corporate officer, and the corporate seal affixed thereto. Moved by Councillor Beal, seconded by Councillor Grenz. Any discussion? Is Councillor Fraz adjusting the, his hand is going, okay. Okay,
Sorry, just for 1 second, I'm trying to pan through the agenda here. I just misread earlier on this item, so I just wanted to touch base on the report there just to clarify the address.
285 Pioneer Crescent.
Okay, yes, got it. Thank you.
Welcome, Councillor Fraz. Is there any further discussion? Do I have a mover or seconder? Okay. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna call the question. You guys are, you're testing me today, aren't you? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. I don't know. I don't think so. But going back to, we're done. Councillor Beal, did you miss the beer? You know what I got on my mind after this. So Councillor Beal, do you have a question back to the last motion or? Is
Yeah,
that-
I just a question of clarification, perhaps through to our CAO. And that was regarding the tax collection. There was a read a third time, but do we need to do a reconsidered and finally adopted separately, or that was all fine? Okay, I just wanted clarification about that.
It's good to see
Thank you.
clarification from our CAO who happens to be in the audience. Thank you.
Through the chair, yes, we actually have legislative requirements that we need to provide space in between. So we do the 3 readings and then at the next meeting, we do the adoption.
Okay, thank you for asking. Yeah,
Mayor, may I ask a question?
I allowed one. I'll allow Councillor Fraz as well. Absolutely. Go ahead, Councillor Fraz.
Thank you. I guess one of the things that tripped me up here just too in the wording here, how it's saying reconsidered versus just considered. I'm not aware, is this a reconsideration or something? I don't recall us, taking a delay on this or reconsidering it. So then that wording too is not familiar to me on just this zoning when we go to pass it. So why is it saying reconsidered?
Councillor Fraz, I'm linking right now to our CAO, Kaler, to actually answer your question for you.
Yes,
Ms.
thank
Gaylor.
you, if I may, through the mayor. So this is actually on every, we use that word reconsider on every adoption. It came in several years ago after some of us went to a corporate officer forum, I believe, but it's essentially so that it can't be changed in the future by another council. So for example, if we just gave it 4th reading, final adoption, 20 years later, somebody could come along, reconsider it, and then wipe out the land use. So that's quite a challenge for folks. So it provides some finality to the fact that the zone is now changed permanently. until such time, if somebody did want to change it in the future, they'd have to go through a whole rezoning process with the public hearing and all that kind of thing. So I know it is weird wording, but if you look back over all the years pretty much that I've been here, it says that reconsider and adopt. So it is odd, but
Thanks for that clarification. Appreciate it.
It's another nuance of the English language. Thank you so much for the question. There you go. Do I have a mover? Oh, we were already past it all. Does anybody else have any comments you want to bring up? So you all get one. Okay, thank you so much. We're moving on now to notice of motions. Today, we have one motion provided on the agenda in lieu of notice. Councillor Fraz, you are in the House. Would you like to present this, or would you like to have me follow through, or do you have the documentation that you need to present it? It is your motion, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. I'd ask the mayor to step in to bring for this motion if I wasn't able to attend, but since I'm here, I'll bring it forward. As it's written there, I'll move it. If there's a seconder, I'll speak to it.
We have a seconder is Councillor Wood.
Great. If I may.
Open for discussion, Councillor Fraz first. Thank you.
Yeah, so through the mayor to council, bringing this forward pretty well as a housekeeping item. We do have this money allocated in our budget for the Brant Festival. The issue being that the Brant Festival takes place before we would have final adoption for our budget. And so this is looking to secure that funding and to issue it directly immediately so that we can have it in time for their festival. The festival is running March 31st through April 9th of this year. This is something that's been having to be addressed year after year as well, where they've asked for, just some security because, really we could pull that funding through the budget time after the fact for them, which would put them in a tight spot. And so I think it's also, not just addressing this item today, but maybe something we should look at to give them a little bit more security in the future so that they're not in a spot where we're adopting our budget after their festival takes place. But for right now, for this item, as it's mentioned there, it's just to issue the funds directly and immediately to them.
Thank you for that, Councillor Fraz. Councillor Wood, did you have your hand up a second or no? Okay, thank you. And to comment on Councillor Fraz's understanding that we are moving forward with a policy in the incoming months through budget as well to make sure that this doesn't happen again. It's an anomaly, of course, that their event happens very early in the year before our budgets have even been approved. And we've done this, as you and I know, on previous councils that has been brought up as the last minute. And so we think to handle this a little more professional moving forward, that we'll put in the proper policy adjustments to make that happen. But as for your motion today, I wholeheartedly support this. Is there any further discussion from council? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thanks for bringing that forward, Councillor Fraz.
Thank you.
We have in notices of motions, we have two councillors who wish to raise motions which were not provided on the agenda today. So should council wish to vote on the motion today, it requires the consent of council. I would like to ask Councillor Martin, would you introduce your proposed motion wording? And then council will be asked if they are willing to hear this today. We need unanimous consent to hear it, but if you let council know what your motion is, it's going to make it easier for us to make that choice.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is to do with the Wounded Warriors. The council approved a one-time donation of $200 from its contingency to be provided to the Wounded Warriors Run BC.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that,
Okay,
Councillor
that's
Martin.
Rebecca.
I'll ask the question from council. Do we have unanimous consent from all to hear this motion now? And then we'll discuss further. All those in favor of hearing today? That is unanimous. Thank you so much. So This is moved now by Councillor Martin, has already made this motion. Do I have a seconder for this motion? Councillor Gore. We have a seconder that council approve a one-time donation of $200 from its contingency to be provided to the Wounded Warrior Run, British Columbia. Pardon me, Councillor Martin, if you could speak to this motion, please.
When I saw this, I was quite excited about it actually, because I've been very supportive of, in historical sense, the people involved in this run. And from a young girl, actually. And I've always given to these things myself. However, this is citizens' money. And I thought, you know, on our Remembrance Day, just the way the people came out and supported our Remembrance Day event, it was unbelievable. Like nearly 1,000 people, maybe. They weren't all from Parksville, but they're citizens in the region. And so I thought this was a worthy thing to bring up. Might have been more money. I don't know. I just did what was done in the past. That's all I mentioned, the $200. I know myself, probably people around here might be giving their own donations too. So that's just why, that's my background. That's why I believe it's a very important thing.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to this motion? Councillor Gore, you seconded. Would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Mayor. Just through the mayor to the council, I guess it's, does not need a lot of persuasion, I hope. It's a worthy cause for the serving members and the veterans of the Canadian Armed Forces, as well as the first responders. This is, I think it's a worthy cause, and I really look forward to the support of the council for this. Thank you.
Councillor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, I too will support this motion, but I would like to add that generally speaking, I am not in support of council donating to charities. I think that it's up to individual citizens to choose how and where they would make their donations if they're able, if they're in a financial position to be able to donate to something. However, Wounded Warriors is in fact supporting veterans and first responders. So ambulance attendants, firefighters, RCMP, providing service dogs, whatever the case may be. I did spend some time looking online to see what programs they do offer. There is a variety, of course. All money that is raised on Vancouver Island stays on Vancouver Island. And they also had quite a positive review as to the state of the charity. And I think that we owe a great deal to our first responders who really put themselves above and beyond what the general population is asked of. And so for all those reasons, I do want to support this.
Thank you. And Councillor Grenz? Oh, thank you. Hey, Councillor Fraz, did you have a?
Yeah,
question?
I have a comment if I may. I think someone has their speaker on still. I'm hearing some feedback. Oh, it's ended now. I don't think it's appropriate for us to be putting out funding like this to the group for a couple of reasons. One, we have a grant funding process that would perfectly target amounts like this. But two, this request, well, we didn't get a request from the group for this, nor was it driven by the community. To me, this sounds like more of a personal initiative that I think would be more appropriately addressed as a personal donation. If we give money as a donation in this regard, it's setting a precedent. And I think there'd be a lot of other groups that would be kind of left out and going, well, one, even if we made a request, it probably wouldn't be fulfilled. But then also, why aren't we offering, why are we picking and choosing who gets the money, who doesn't? Kind of saying that one's worthy, other groups aren't. So I think requests of this nature should be grants that are applied to our city through our grant process, and then we can make the selection for it. But I agree to hear this today because there is a nature of it being time sensitive. That I think March 3rd is when they're coming through town, so we won't have another council meeting at that time. But I definitely can't support this, and I think council should really consider what kind of precedent that makes. It is a worthy cause. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I think we can show our support by attending the event and being there to speak to them. I don't think this is the appropriate way to support it.
Councillor Grins.
Thank you, Mayor, and through to council. I too am very reluctant to support this, not because of the worthiness of the cause, but because of the process and the precedent that it establishes. In fact, I think the fact that this has been done in the past by council and the exact same dollar amount demonstrates that we've set a precedent already in the past council around providing donations in a sort of one-off manner without an appropriate process to determine whether the other principles that we're trying to check off in terms of boxes as a city, there are other causes that meet other objectives of the city. I'd also like to add that we directly support first responders because they are in the employ of the city, and that we also provide funding for whether it's mental health or other services to the first responders in our care, and that we can do that directly without the middleman, so to speak, of a charitable organization in this case. And also just the staff time involved in donating a small amount like this seems like it's not the most efficient use of city funds. So those would be my comments around it and my therefore reluctance to support it.
Thank you. And Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a comment. I've run with the Wounded Warriors as a past volunteer firefighter. I don't think any of us are questioning the validity of the charity. But when we sit around the table, we're spending, City of Parksville taxpayer dollars, and I think we have to be very careful how we do that. I think that's what's expected of us. As I think about this, I'm raising money for coldest night of the year right now, but I'm doing that, on the side of my desk. And I was thinking, imagine if at the end of our meetings, we could go around the table, and if one of us is trying to raise money for a charity, then we could just mention it. And if people who are watching or listening to the meetings, if they thought that was a good charity, then they could donate to that after the meeting. And that way we can be supporting those charities without, having to be in this kind of conundrum of spending the taxpayers' dollars on what are obviously worthy causes. So those are my comments. I haven't really made up my mind whether or not we're going to support this relatively small dollar amount for Wounded Warriors. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'll speak for the first time around as well. I'm not supporting this for a couple of reasons. I'll respond to Councillor Wood's suggestion about putting it in at the end of our meeting, and I'm very reluctant to even consider that. I feel it's more important that if you personally believe in a charity, that you contact people in the community that support you and so forth. But to have it run through the council meeting, it's just one more item that we have to do, and we would be absolutely inundated if you understand how many charities there are. So I'm just a comment on that. I feel I won't be supporting this for much the same reasons been mentioned. If this is what some at this table feel to be a very worthy charity, but we are not spending our money here. We're spending the City of Parksville taxpayers' monies. Others may not feel the same. And that's what we have to do. We have to consider the fact that who we're representing here, but we all have the personal option of contributing to any and most worthwhile charitable organizations in our community and running through our community in this case. So I believe that is my feeling, that I feel that is the way that we should handle this. We have agreed to send a representative to welcome them as they run through our city for this event. And that, I believe, should be the amount of participation that we subscribe to at this time. Councillor Beal, you had a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I absolutely agree with you that I would not like to see us going around the table and adding our, particular charities that we might be raising money for. No, I would not like to see that. I would also like to clarify a couple of things that might be misunderstandings. First of all, that in the case of this particular organization, they would not actually fit the criteria for our grants and aid program. As was suggested, grants and aids are for local organizations that have membership within Parksville, and this organization functions at a somewhat different level. The other thing is that actually, again, a point of clarification, we did actually get a direct request from this organization through a letter, an invitation to attend, and also a request for a contribution. And although I really have struggled a bit with this, but again, due to the nature of this being for the benefit of veterans and understanding that, yes, we do provide some direct support to, for instance, our firefighters, and we have RCMP within our midst. I'm not sure that we do the same for ambulance attendants, but again, given that the fact that this is our first responders and veterans, I will support this motion. It's a very small amount. I realize that. Final question though, through to our CAO perhaps, or our finance operator. What amount of staff time would be going into issuing a check if this does go forward?
Is CAO Kaler or Jetta? I'm not sure.
If I may, through the chair, so a few hours of time. I know when I worked for the province many years ago now, I guess 11 and a half years ago, we had a standard cost of cutting a check that was $85. And that was based on the estimates at that time of, a couple hours of staff time, I guess, to put it in the system, track it, put the appropriate accounting and things on there. So I would say it's about the same for us. So a couple hours of staff time, it's probably about $85 or so.
Thank you. And Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. So sort of a disclosure, like I know I have a personal bias here, being a reservist with the Air Force. However, I have bounced on it, actually supporting it strongly, to listening to the members of the council. I think that's the beauty of a debate and deliberation, that you don't stay stuck in the way you want to support an item, a motion. I have personally made a contribution already, but I did hear some really good points from the council about setting a precedent, being fair to other charities, fiscal prudence. It's not our money to spend. I have spent my money. So I would like to mention that, taking into account all those factors and what the council has said and discussed, I personally don't feel comfortable now spending the taxpayers' money, but I will, like I said, I have made my personal contribution and will be very happy to attend the event at the Legion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Beal.
Thank you. Through hearing that it would cost perhaps $85 to do this, that really does switch me over. And I think that I will not support this at this time. I will be attending and I will make a personal donation, and I'll leave it at that.
Councillor Gore or Grams.
What, not Councillor Beer? I would.
Councillor Beer has left the room.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through to council. I do want to thank council for the conversation around this. And I know we're all learning here, and don't always know the downstream implications of decisions that we make. And so it's very clarifying to be able to have this conversation, discuss through these issues, recognize the unknown unknowns that we're still learning about. So just want to thank everyone for the conversation, and we're learning here, and hopefully doing a good job on behalf of those who voted for us.
Thank you for that. All those in favor of the motion? Oh, did you want to speak further? Or I didn't. I don't read lips.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The democratic process here is excellent. And I really feel privileged to be able to discuss things openly and honestly and find to the root of things. And I think our veterans and the people who we're trying to support understand what we're doing here. And that's what it's about. And it was a nominal amount of money. And I know, because it was just following what was done in the past, that's all. So thank you very much for all the deliberation and the time that was spent, but this will be a precedent for future. So I think it's very good for us to learn this, like Councillor Grand said, for other ideas we might have. So there you go. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, and I would just comment that it's certainly not personal.
No,
It's
I know,
not
I know.
personal at
No, I
any,
don't
so
think
I,
it is.
and I welcome your any of council's motions.
Yeah.
Whatever, to bring it to the table for discussion, please. And as council has demonstrated, I hope that we can have a respectful discussion about any of these things. We're not going to win every one that we propose.
No, of course
You'll
not.
learn that, but it is a good fulsome discussion, and I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
everybody's very professional attitude, and thank you for that.
Mhm.
Councillor Bill.
And this is perhaps through the chair to Councillor Martin. Just to clarify, one also has the option to withdraw a motion, correct? Or once it's been moved and seconded, do we vote on it? So I just don't know if
How it works.
one has that, is aware of that.
Here's Keevan.
Yeah, point of reference on that, CEO Kaler, can it just be defeated or can it be, should we withdraw?
Yeah, so if I may, through the chair, so there's a couple of different perspectives on that, actually. So I believe our procedure bylaw is silent on it, but in Robert's rules, usually if it's seconded, then it becomes the motion of the group.
Right.
I was trying to assembly. So in the past, we have, I think through consent of council, if the mover and seconder say they want to withdraw, we've allowed that to happen, just I think as a courtesy, and doesn't go against anything in our procedure bylaw. But I suppose to be a stickler for the rules of it, once the item is moved and seconded, it really is council that owns that motion. And so even if the mover and seconder decided, okay, I don't want to talk about it anymore, but one of the members who maybe would have seconded, but let someone else second, then really it should be debated and then voted on. So we do sometimes have situations where there's no vote. And I think we've been flexible when it's kind of the will of council. But technically speaking, I think once it's moved and seconded and debated, unless there's some extenuating circumstance, it probably should be voted on just so that it's a clearer direction from the board or from the council.
Councillor Grants, do you have further clarifications needed?
May I just match, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to council. If we vote to defeat this motion, I don't know that that has any sort of bad consequence in terms of perception or anything, especially if the councillors that moved it and seconded it are also voting against it, then it just demonstrates that we've had a good discussion about it, that we've thought about it, and as councils, we made a decision together on it. And I think that also still looks good and reflects well on our process here.
To me, it shows that even those that propose a motion continue to have an open mind during the discussion, and then we'll vote accordingly. There's no shame in voting against your own motion once you've had a fulsome debate. So I think it's actually a good demonstration of how it should happen. I would prefer that we vote on it, quite frankly, and we move forward. Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Chair, and I second Councillor Gren's comments. I do want to note that we received new information while the motion was on the table, and that is how much it was going to cost to actually fund the $200. It might cost $85. And so that's new information that was brought to the discussion that the mover and the seconder and the rest of us are now made aware. And so that was a productive part of the discussion, even if the motion is defeated. I found that to be interesting. And also moving forward, for any of us who are bringing motions to the table, we can kind of do a little bit of background and make sure that if I'm going to bring something, I'm going to try to figure out how much it's going to cost. I like to think of the iceberg cost, how much it's going to cost to maintain, et cetera, replacement costs for bigger stuff. But in this case, how much is it going to cost to actually fund it? I found that interesting, and that's new information. Thank you.
Right, and good point, because we say it's only just $200, but it is not really just $200, and we all just learned that today, that there's more ramifications for the whole. But moving forward, we're all learning, and I in a very good way. So thank you so much for that. Your microphone is still on. It will be echoing. Thank you, Councillor Martin. So I shall call the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? Unanimous opposed. Thank you so much. Great work. Moving forward. We have another motion. And this is another notice of motion that is coming to the floor without notice. And so if I could ask Councillor Beal to introduce your proposed motion, and then we'll have council decide on voting on this motion without notice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And a question just of protocol, because this is just to whether or not we're going to accept the consideration of the motion. Should I just read out the final motion or also the background? And yes, I'm looking through to our CAO.
If I may, through the chair, I would suggest reading the background so that folks are aware of the reason for the motion coming forward. And I'm not sure if the background speaks to the time sensitivity, given what you're asking, so.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes, so I will go ahead.
Yeah,
and
so,
read.
and I will
Yeah.
give you latitude to describe in further.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much. So the background, this is related to, this is coming out of our ABICC meeting conference that we had recently in Nanaimo, and some thoughts about that. And so the background is that council members benefit greatly from networking with other municipality elected officials during meals and even evening conference events, during which time we build strong connections with counterparts that facilitate enhanced collective problem solving in the region. Parksville has many newly elected officials, and there's great benefit from meeting and conversing with more experienced officials who are attending ABICC. And that, for those who don't know it, that's the Association of Vancouver Island Communities and then conference, right? Coastal communities, yes, pardon me. So the planned events often span 10 to 12 hours, sometimes longer, and driving back and forth after a long day during potentially inclement weather is not a favorable option for many councillors. In addition, the extra transportation impacts of multiple vehicle trips is not environmentally sensitive and will result in almost the same mileage costs as accommodation. I would like to add that these long days can start quite early in the morning, so it does involve being up quite late in the evening and then getting up very, very early the following morning. Therefore, councillors who choose to stay overnight during the conference should be supported to take that option. And the motion would be that the accommodation costs for council members who wish to obtain a hotel room to attend ABICC in April 2023 be approved as part of the council conference budget. And this conference is coming up quite soon in April, still a few months away, but people are already booking accommodation at this time. So that's what the motion is about.
Thank you for explaining the time sensitivity. That's why it's being brought up to the table right now. We have to decide fast on this. So hearing Councillor Beal's explanation of the motion, all council here, do I have unanimous consent to hear this motion today? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you for that. Councillor Beal.
I don't know if I need to add too much, but I know that even at our recent conference that we attended in Nanaimo for the Local Government Leadership Academy, which went till about 8 o'clock in the evening, the following morning entailed getting up, before 6 o'clock in order to get there as early as 7. And certainly I felt quite tired for the start of that day. The ABICC coming up goes through till about 10 o'clock at night. And understanding that the sessions that are presented, which are extremely worthwhile, but during those you're there to listen to other questions that are brought forward. The organized, structured sessions do really not allow for time to talk with our counterparts from other communities, many of whom are experiencing some of the same challenges. We can learn from things that they are trying to do and learning from their experiences. So there's really no opportunity other than the evening, more social, a little more casual events. Those are the times when we can, in fact, make connections and meet others from other community and talk about the important that we're works that we need to be doing here. So that's why I would like to see us support this motion.
So Councillor Beal, I was just hoping for you to read the motion and that I was going to go for a second.
Okay, sorry.
But that's
The
okay.
motion
You're on-
is
you're on a
that
roll.
the accommodation costs for council members who wish to obtain a hotel room to attend ABICC in April 2023 be approved as part of the council conference budget.
Thank you, Councillor Beal. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Moved by Councillor Martin. Now, is there any further discussion? Councillor Beal, you actually have the microphone first, but you may have already spoken, or are you good? Councillor Martin, would you like to speak to this as well?
Yes, myself, I got so much out of the last conference we were at. I really learned a lot. And I talked to a couple of people about their communities, but it wasn't enough time by the time we got there and then leaving. And then I couldn't stay late at night because I knew the next day I would be exhausted. So I found, and then my husband picked me up and he said, "This is terrible driving home." It was awful. It was a terrible night. And you know, I think that is being not wise. That's all. That's my opinion. And so I don't take these things lightly. I don't want to spend money on things like this unnecessarily, but I think it is for us to do a good job. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Further comments? Councillor Fraz.
Hey there. Thanks. I just wanted to make mention to the ABICC cycles through different communities. So this one comes up in Nanaimo. They're often, Powell River to Victoria and around our coastal communities. In those cases, it is covered to stay at hotels. It's only when it's the local that it's, it's so we commute through it. So I can appreciate that, when weather is bad and so on, the traveling. But I think also the fact that we already allow for the accommodations for this conference. I don't know if I quite have my mind made up on it, kind of hearing it on the fly. I don't know if I'd really want to vote on it today, but I get what you're saying about the time sensitivity to be booking. I think without having a lot of time to reflect on it, I probably wouldn't be too supportive of it today, but I may give it more time to think about it.
Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to council. And thank you, Councillor Frass, for your comments around the fact that this is also available for other AVICC events, just not the ones that are in Nanaimo. So it's not a big leap for this one. I do want to make a couple comments around the financial prudence that we've already demonstrated, I believe, as a council so far in terms of costs that the council itself is asking the community to bear. And in this case, I do think this is a very worthwhile investment on behalf of the taxpayer. I can tell the taxpayers that they are being well served by this council, having been at the LGLA last week. I do know, I can speak to the fact that this council has been very proactive in meeting other councillors and elected officials and the many people that are at these events, and worked hard to network and learn from each other. I found it personally very valuable as a newly elected councillor to be able to make those connections and get perspective from other communities and the very similar struggles that we all face around many important issues at the municipal level. It also allows us to have a more unified voice when it comes to matters that we want to bring forward to senior levels of government, which is something that has been a bit of a frustration, I must admit, for me so far, being a municipal elected official, the limits that we have in terms of what we can accomplish at the municipal level when we're being asked to provide additional services that are more actually provincial or federal jurisdiction. So the fact that we're able to build relationships with fellow municipal elected officials and regional directors, that we can speak much more strongly as a unified voice at the municipal level when it comes to petitioning the provincial and federal government once we have this established relationship. So for all those reasons, I'm very supportive of this. I appreciate Councillor Beal bringing this forward and the time sensitivity around it. I will definitely echo Councillor Fraz's concerns around last minute decisions. I prefer not to do last minute decisions. And in this case, though, I'm willing to make an exception and support this motion.
Councillor Gordon.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the mayor to the council. Today seems to be the day for me to learn fiscal prudence. And I'm learning. Thank you. I did attend the LGLA. I really liked networking with the other council members from around the province. I'm of the same, like I'm in the same, I'm not very certain if I can support it at this time. Within the schedule, we have the time for networking, and I understand people want to go beyond that time on their own personal time to do further networking. And they want to stay in the area, but since it's being so close to Parksville, within the area, whether our accommodation will be close to the venue of the AVICC, or will we end up finding accommodation at the other end of Nanaimo, the commute can be similar in duration. So I don't feel comfortable supporting it at this time, since I have to make a decision right now. I definitely see the need, and I totally understand Councillor Beal's request, but I will not be able to support it at this time. Thank you.
Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Chair. This job that we've been elected to is building relationships. It's building relationships with each other, with staff, with other municipalities, with the people who voted us in. That's our job. And when we go to these conferences, the sessions are to listen to the speakers. We get to ask questions, and sometimes, you know, there's a lunch or something like that. But besides those sessions, if you want to build relationships with other municipalities, other councillors, other mayors, MLAs, MPs, whoever is there, much of that is done outside of the conference schedule. So if we are to do our job in building relationships, and hopefully that reflects on what we can get done for the city, then we need that time to do that. We are already, you know, when we go to further away conferences, we are put in a hotel so that we're not commuting. The trick here is that we're just down in Nanaimo, so it seems that we can, you know, commute. I don't mind getting up early. I don't mind driving in the snow. I'm from Ontario originally. None of that's a big deal to me, but what is a big deal to me is building relationships with people on the few days that we have to get to know those other councillors, mayors, MLAs, MPs, whoever is at these conferences. And that will benefit the city when we do that. So to me, this entire job is building relationships, and you can't do that inside the sessions of these conferences. It is only done outside of the sessions. And so the more time we get to do that, the better we can work for the people that elected us. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll be supporting this, and I'll weigh in as well. This is a new council we have, and it's very important for the new council to liaise and network with their equals and other elected officials at these events. The events themselves are nonstop from start to finish during the day. We have very little opportunity actually for networking, because there's one speaker after the other speaker, and we're just actually trying to absorb everything that we learned. At the end of the day, I can tell you my brain hurts because it is so much. And we've talked about this. And sometimes it's easier at the end of the day to be able to meet with our fellow councillors, because we can meet with them. We're not advancing business, but to actually debrief. What did you pick up? What were some of the highlights? What did you get from that last session? We can talk freely without being quorum. We're just in a learning experience. And those are the most valuable points that we get from this. And that happens after hours. And that happens long time during the day. Last week, you know, we were up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And by the time I got home at 8:30 that night, I was exhausted. And I have a very comfortable vehicle, and it was raining, and I was exhausted. And I thought, this is not going to, whether this goes through or not, I'll be paying for my own room if I have to, if this does not go through, because I'm not, and I do not like the fact that it puts our council, who do so much of this on their own personal time, at risk, because the thing is that exhaustion and falling asleep at the wheel is not a good scene. And I can't afford to lose any members of council or staff that also attend these events as well. We have to stay safe, and we have to be reasonable. And this is part of that, is keeping everybody safe. It's a health and safety issue for me. It also allows us to get information that makes us more financially prudent for the taxpayers of Parksville. And it happens all the time. I can't even begin to think of the amount of items I've learned. How did, we'll ask someone from another community, how did you accomplish something? You're in the paper, where you're in the news. How did you accomplish this? Because we have very similar problems. We're all this in this together. And they're very helpful at saying, this is how we did it. And this is how we got buy-in from our staff and from our community. And it's amazing what we can bring back to our community instead of reinventing the wheel. We're taking someone else's brilliant idea to maybe just tweak that policy, maybe just take that motion and turn it into something that's going to benefit everybody. But this is a small cost to me for the taxpayer to ensure that we get not only good governance, but excellent governance. And I saw that happening by watching all of our council members at the LGLA, at another event that was attended by Councillor Wood and myself for the business economic conference that was in Nanaimo very early on the terms. And the networking that I saw going on with our individuals and getting good solid information was very impressive. So I'm definitely in support of this, and that is why. Thank you. Any further comments on this? Councillor Fraz.
Thank you. Appreciate getting to hear from everybody there, I guess, and through the mayor to the council. Some thoughts that come up for me are, right now this motion is about dealing with AVICC, although LGLA just happened in Nanaimo. So would, in the same breath, not be looking to extend it to that? And with that being said, we also often host LGLA in Parksville, and would be looking at then trying to have accommodations for when things are happening in town as well. Because the difference of the drive from Nanaimo back to Parksville being, 20, 25 minutes or so is really what it's about. A lot of comments here about the usefulness of AVICC. And to me, that's not exactly what this is about, because AVICC is definitely very useful, but it's about, should we pay for the accommodations to save ourselves that 20-minute drive? And that's why I say I think we need to look at the bigger picture then too. Would we not extend this to when events are happening in Parksville? I think for me, the answer is still right now a no. I wouldn't be supportive of it. I think we need to look at it more fulsome, but kind of picking and choosing just because there's an event coming up in the next couple of weeks here or in the next couple of months if we're going to get hotels for that time. I think we should look at it more fulsome. So I won't be supporting it today, but I do think it's a conversation that should be explored a little bit further.
Thank you. For clarification, I'd like to point out that the recommendation today is only for those who wish to obtain a hotel room to attend AVICC in April 2023. This is not setting a precedent to any others that may or may not be out in Nanaimo. The time sensitivity brought it forward. We would be looking forward to a policy adjustment to reflect maybe in future at a later date where we can have that non-time sensitive. But this is for this one event only that just happens, as you have pointed out, it does rotate around. But in this particular case, this one in April 2023 is in Nanaimo. That's why it's been brought up now. I understand it is not in any way setting a precedent, as the motion only says for this one. Yes, Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the mayor to the council, a couple of things. I haven't looked at the AVICC schedule, and I'm sorry if it's already out, but I looked at the LGLA again, and it did have a couple of hours every day for networking within the schedule for the members to do that. I'm not against, I totally understand people like to do some more personal level networking. That's fine with me. The other question, I guess, would be for maybe our CAO is, if such conference were to happen in Nanaimo for the staff, do we have a policy to reimburse the staff or have them stay in hotels? Something like that?
If I may, through the chair. So we have the same policy. So we would not be eligible for accommodation costs in the region, like in the RDN essentially. So we would travel back and forth. If I may, Chair. I would say that our networking opportunities are a little bit different though than local.
Follow, Councillor Gore.
Just a follow-up comment. Thank you, Chair. To me itself, like I feel like that's a precedent for me. I would not be supporting this at this time. I still think that I was within the region and close enough. If we need to network, we can still commute back to Parksville. So I will not be supporting.
Did you have, yes, Councillor Beal.
I'd just like to comment that maybe my vehicle doesn't go as quickly as some others, but keeping in mind that in my experience, a 20-minute time frame is to get you to the edge of North Nanaimo, but in fact, this conference takes place right downtown. So in order to get right downtown and parked, et cetera, it's certainly more than that. But anyway, I still think it's a valuable motion to consider and would also allow just rest breaks. So thank you. Yeah, my car doesn't go that fast.
Thank you. Councillor Martin, did you have your hand up or no? Councillor Grants.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One more quick comment on this discussion through to council. So I'd just like to add, reinforce the fact that I believe that so far this council has been quite financially prudent with regard to the benefits we receive as councillors. And further to that, we did carpool to the last conference in order to, that does save money for the taxpayer and also better for the environment. It was an electric vehicle actually as well. So there you go. I did in my networking though, speak to counselors from a community of a similar size to ours, and they in fact get a budget from for their travel, which includes per diem for meals and additional things. So what we're asking for is actually, by that comparable is actually lower than what they would get. And a final note is I'm happy to share a room with another counselor to save further money for the taxpayer.
Thank you for that. And I also comment that previous Councillor Frass and I also carpooled all the way to Powell River together. And we had not quite the all electric, but we did have the hybrid Volt that we carpooled in to Powell River. And that was a long drive, but we just the same. We did it as environmentally safely as we could. So just for the record. Thank you. I got to call the question. All those in favor of the motion on the floor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? Councillor Frass and Councillor Gore opposes. Thank you so much. That motion carries. Let's move on to liaison reports. We'll now move on to the liaison reports of a section of our meeting. In the interest of efficiency, I would ask the council members please keep their updates concise. We will begin with the Regional District of Nanaimo Board updates, please. This is our RDN board. Good enough. I thought you were trying to get my attention. Councillor Wood. Okay, that's fine. No, it's just strictly, I'm just making sure that if you have anything, I'm giving you a window. Liaison report from Councillor Gore. Would you like to report on the Access Oceanside Association update, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll cover both the Access Oceanside as well as the Beach Fest. If that's okay. So the AOA, we had a meeting on the 15th of Feb. They're running a membership drive, as you're aware, and they're quite excited about the accessibility committee being required by the province to have be established in the municipalities. They're also in talks with the engineering department about a possible crosswalk at Corefield and Skylark. They're also updating their website with the hotels and the motels in Oceanside that are accessible. So making sure all the visitors can see which hotels and motels have accessible areas. Coming down to the Beach Fest, we had the AGM on the 15th of Feb. We got all the updates about the preparations for the upcoming Beach Fest. They're looking to hire event host and event organizer positions for students. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Gordon. Next we have. No, is there any other liaison reports that didn't make it into our agenda package? Because we'll certainly hear now if anybody has anything. No, thank you. New business, I had no new business identified within the agenda guideline off the floor. Thank you. Can I get a mover and a seconder for adjournment? Counselor Wood and seconded by Counselor Beal. All those in favor? Unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, council.